Take a deep breath in. And as you breathe in a resourceful feeling of relaxation. And as you exhale, just get a sense that tension, stress, anxiety is leaving your body in your outward breath. As you breathe in and breathe out, I want you to get a sense that every outward breath is releasing more and more tension. More and more worries are leaving your body. Any anxiety that perhaps you feel in your gut or your chest, feel that anxiety melting away, and then as you breathe out, feel like it's leaving your body in your outward breath, enabling you to go deeper and deeper, relaxed now. I want you to use the power of your imagination to go back to a memory that you never had. I want you to imagine that if you were an unborn baby in a womb, you would have a feeling of feeling safe. It would be dark, but you would feel safe. You would be in an enclosed space, but you would feel safe. The air you breathe isn't even your own air, and yet you feel safe. As you continue to just breathe in and breathe out, there in the safety of that womb, I want you to realize that there is so much around you that you're not in control of. You're not in control of the diet or the nutrition of your mother. You're not in control of how she moves her body or what she does. You're not in control of the choices and decisions that she makes. And yet, you still feel safe. Your eyelids are getting heavier and heavier, more and more relaxed. Muscles in your neck and your jaw, just release that tension now. Perhaps you can even imagine the sound of your mother's heartbeat. Almost feeling like you're in zero gravity, just rotating and moving as you want. And get a sense that you feel safe. You feel safe even though you're not in control. There's very little you can do in the womb, and yet you still feel safe. I want you to imagine that inside this womb, you sleep. And even unborn babies can sleep in the womb because there are moments where they're active and moving and kicking and rotating, and there are times where they're very still. And I want you to imagine this is a time where you're very still, that you're asleep inside the womb, still feeling safe. But imagine that even though you feel what it feels like to be safely in the womb, you've got the imagination of your adult mind, able to take a human experience and internalize it as if it's real. I want you to imagine that you are just walking in to the reception area of the tallest skyscraper in the world. Perhaps you're in Dubai, or maybe at the point where you enter this building, there's an even taller skyscraper in a different city. And I want you to imagine that you've been invited to attend a meeting or a gathering on the very top floor of the world's tallest skyscraper. As you enter the building, perhaps there are over 100 floors, maybe 150 or more. And you're thinking, how do I get to the top floor? And I want you to imagine you are wearing clothing appropriate for an elegant gathering. Perhaps the shoes are very stylish shoes. Maybe you're wearing clothes that you feel that you are elegant and stylish in wearing. You've been invited to this special gathering right at the very top of the world's largest skyscraper. And I want you to imagine that you have a choice. You can choose to take the stairs. You get a sense that if you take the stairs, by the time you get to the top, this gathering may have finished. And even when you arrive, you're probably covered in sweat and dust, perhaps with blisters on your feet. Or you could take the elevator and know that in under a minute you would be on the top floor. I want you to get a sense that even though you're not in control of the elevator or the machinery, I want you to evaluate that this is simply a way to get you somewhere else. It's a stepping stone. It's a vehicle. In the same way that if you're in the back of a car, in the back of a taxi, you're not in control of the car, you're not driving the car, and yet you can feel safe by trusting someone that isn't you. And as you stand there in the reception, maybe you're trusting the engineers, the architects, the scientists, and the designers to create and build this system. I want you to evaluate that this elevator gets serviced and maintained many, many times a year. Any signs of any issues, it would be investigated and repaired rapidly. And I want you to get a sense that your focus influences your emotions, that where focus goes, energy flows. And I want you to decide on useful things to focus on as you press the button of that elevator. Perhaps this will save me so much time. Perhaps this will enable me to get to this gathering on time. This will mean that I get to be there without messing up my clothes and my shoes. This is the safest, quickest way of arriving to the top. And I want you to imagine that with those positive, empowering thoughts, hold them on rotation in your inner dialogue, and then imagine feeling a sense of resourcefulness. Not even courage, because you don't need it. I want you to feel resourceful, confident, with a strong conviction that this is the obvious thing to do. And then when you're ready to press the button and enter the elevator, just let me know by nodding your head. As you walk in, focus your attention on something that gives you a positive energy. Maybe it's the stylish decoration inside the elevator. Maybe it's an elevator that has views of the city as it rises, or maybe it's an internal elevator. Focus that this is over 100 floors, and maybe it's only going to take a few moments until you get to the top. And when you arrive at the top and leave the elevator, just let me know by nodding your head. This is now evidence that when your focus is on those things that are working for you, saving you time, saving you energy, anxiety is low. But when you focus on those things you can't control and that pose a threat, anxiety is high, and therefore anxiety is a choice. You can choose anxiety simply by focusing on those things that represent a danger or a lack of control. And just knowing that you can control your emotions by controlling your focus means you don't have to worry about your emotions anymore. Because whenever you feel something undesirable, you can shift your focus on something new, and the emotion will change accordingly. I want you to imagine you are now on the top floor of this impressive skyscraper with amazing views of the city around you. I want you to accept the belief that even though you don't know many of these people, that you have the resources to handle yourself. You trust your judgment, and you are good with people. You're a people person. You empathize with people and you are good with people. I want you to imagine walking around, socializing, maybe eating amazing food, drinking amazing drinks, and feeling comfortable even though you're not in control of so many things here. You didn't influence the menu. You weren't the architect of this building, and yet you're very high above sea level. And yet you still feel safe. So you accept the belief that you don't need to control everything in order to feel safe. You just trust other people's competency in key areas. And while you're here, I want you to imagine that you're thinking back on something that you used to have, and you accept that you don't have it anymore. And I want you to give a suggestion to your unconscious mind that your unconscious will help you find this thing that you don't have anymore. Perhaps it can remember where you were, what you were doing. And occasionally we have these eureka moments, almost like an intuitive insight out of nowhere just strikes you, pops into your head, and I want you to give your unconscious mind the suggestion that it will go looking for this thing. I want you to accept the suggestion that the universe will find a way of giving you back those things that you've lost, and if it can't, it will give you something of equivalent value or even more valuable. And if you accept that to be true, let me know by nodding your head. I want you to imagine looking up at the sky from the top of this skyscraper and seeing an aeroplane, and realizing that nobody on that plane probably knows too much about the laws of thermodynamics, the laws of aerospace engineering. They don't know the material that plane is made from. They don't know about air pressure. They don't know about weather patterns. They don't know about radar, air traffic control, anti-collision devices, and yet the people on that plane are asleep, or they're enjoying movies, or they're drinking a glass of wine or having a meal, I want you to get a sense that none of them need to know everything or control everything in order to feel relaxed and safe. And if it's true for them, it is also true for you. Because where your focus goes, your energy flows, but the same is true of other people. And as you look at that plane going through the air at maybe 600 or 700 miles an hour, I want you to get a sense where the focus is of those passengers, and realize that where their focus goes, their energy flows, and their focus might be on the movie they're watching, on how much sleep they want to get, or how much work they can get on and do in that flight of maybe several hours. That when their focus is on things that work for them, their energy changes. In fact, in order to be anxious on a plane, you have to spend a lot of time thinking about all the things you're not in control of. But you are in control of your thoughts. And when the focus switches to those things that help you rather than hinder you, that take your life to the very destination you're traveling towards, the emotions change. So allow your unconscious mind to update belief systems to a new way of thinking. Not just that you have the resources to handle yourself and that you can trust your judgment, but you will adopt the belief that it doesn't make sense to focus on things that you can't control. You accept what you can't control, and you obsess about those things that not only you do control, but by controlling them, it takes your life in the direction you want it to go. The world is a big place, and there was a time before planes, before trains, before boats, before cars. Go back 600 years ago. The only way someone could travel the world is on horse, and even then they could see a tiny fraction of the world. And yet now, with all of this technology, you could see hundreds of different cities, towns, cultures, over 100 countries within your lifetime, just because you want to. And those people that have lived a life of freedom and opportunity, they focus on what they want, and they accept there will be things they can't control in order to get what they want. And if the same is now true for you, let me know by nodding your head. I want you to let go of the need to control things you can't control. Your certainty does not come from other people, other things. Your certainty comes from your ability to trust yourself and your own judgment and your own focus. You will stop trying to control those things you can't control. And even in environments where you can't control the environment, you can control what you focus on in that environment. And because where focus goes, your energy flows. By changing your focus, changes your environment, your unconscious, intuitive environment, the way that you experience the world, the energy you feel. Which means the world has suddenly opened up to become a very exciting place. Because by trusting yourself and giving yourself permission to use your own focus to help you rather than hinder you, means that there are almost no limitations on the choices you can make now. The biggest constraint is time. And you get to focus on what you will do with the time that you have to give you the best life you want for you and what your needs are, your dreams are, your ambitions are. Imagine being there on the top floor of the world's largest skyscraper, and then just say goodbye to some of the guests that you've been speaking with. Go back down the elevator, realizing there is no anxiety whatsoever, because your focus is on you and what you want to do next. Imagine leaving that skyscraper and finding yourself back in your body right now, listening to my voice firmly in the present. Very soon I will count from 1 to 10 to awaken you. And when you awaken, you will feel resourceful, optimistic, with a huge belief in your own resources, your own abilities, and your own judgment. Take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your nose. Just wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes, get a sense that you're in your own physical body right now, as I now count from 1 to 10 to awaken you. 1, 2, 3, waking up. 4, 5, 6, more alert. 7, 8, open your eyes, open your eyes. 9, 10, wide awake, wide awake, wide awake.